my only concern is police or fire. Do you all have an issue with anything like that if they have more than 5% of their?
As long as it doesn't block access to the building where we can get in.
And that overrules any of this stuff, I mean, safety, fire, police, either one.
Safety codes are always gonna be primary.
Yeah, so I think anything we're deciding here gets overruled if there's a fire hazard or problem with police or fire getting in, so I think that goes without saying.
So I think to that and other things that you're probably gonna bring up, the concern over the years has been trying to, you know, we're an older community, we all know our history, most of us have lived our
That's how
entire
you look at
lives.
me when I say you're.
I looked at all four of you guys. Cause I know you.
We're still back behind you.
I appreciate it.
I know you grew up with my mother, when y'all were children, but, the concern has been to try to keep Red Rocks from looking as trashy, right? I mean, that's just what it's been. And in doing so, we have limited things that would have improved it instead of making it look trashy. I'm confident in cases. So I think it's valid to relook at some of these things. You're our citizen board, that's what you're tasked with doing, so.
I think we also need to look at, we say you have to put everything inside, but we have a pawn shop, they don't have stuff inside. They store stuff outside.
Cyclone fence, so you still see it regardless.
Perhaps we want to require screening in the future, I don't know, or something that's out of sight from a public thoroughfare. Because I don't know if even if A and B puts everything inside, but it puts it what I would call out of sight.
Is that for muffler?
No, lawnmower.
Oh, A and B, I'm sorry.
That's a lot of mufflers, $250,000.
Yeah.
If that number's,
So I don't know if it has to be inside or just out of sight of the thoroughfare or whatever.
I think we need to be reasonable, yeah.
Whatever the attorney might opine would be the proper terminology.
so do you have a recommendation on the percentage? Yeah.
On the percentage of what you put outside,
Yeah.
somewhere between 100 and 0, whatever they say.
Okay.
I just, again, why would we, and I look at A and B, I think, I have no idea about his code issues or not code issues. I think everybody in this room probably done business with him.
I agree with you.
And they take a risk. They roll a good used car out every time one of those mowers rolls outside. They take a risk. If somebody's got a key or some 18-year-old has a pair of wire cutters, they just took a risk, $5,000 risk.
I guess you do know that someone did steal one time, didn't you? Have you heard that story?
Oh, yeah, we saw them, that they were hauling it off.
They hooked the chain up to it and drug it.
You may not remember, but I worked in an administration building when somebody in the morning hooked the chain up and drugged the ATM out of the building while we were there.
Yeah.
Like you were there.
But in this story, just to finish it, they drug it down Robert's Cutoff, and someone was chasing them, and they made a right onto Shadio,
Yep.
which is dead end on both ends.
That was me in the boat.
Didn't know that neighborhood.
Yeah, that was me in the boat,
Well,
we caught them.
Oh, was that you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Boy, these guys are taking the risk.
Right, yeah.
I mean, and nothing's magic here, you know, we all, with all due respect to all of you all, these are all ordinances and they're written in concrete until the very next council meeting, so.
Right, sure.
Or the code officer that's in charge of writing or not writing it up.
We can't do this. I just think we have to think about it. It's a time to really encourage people. I understand the concern about places looking like a dump, but that's a code issue. That's not a planning and zoning.
Well, except for if you're telling them to bring it all out and they bring it out and it looks junky, it's not a code issue.
I don't know how to determine what junk is.
I don't either.
But they're taking the risk. And again, if you're paying somebody to haul it out every day and haul it back in, how many days are you gonna haul it out? And if it looks junky and it sells, then I'm happy to get the sales tax of River Oaks, Texas. I'll just say that. Those are some of my suggestions. Also note, and it's certainly not a quarrel with city manager, because I think he's doing the right thing, but where it talks about building materials and he said it's unenforceable.
The state's passed a new law.
I would just remove that. I think,
Sure.
I think leaving language that's not enforceable is troublesome. And we could certainly change the language to whatever a recommendation is, when it's recommended that you use building, I think you can recommend whatever you guys decide. It's a recommendation.
Yeah, and we left it in for that reason as a recommendation, that's what we tell them, but if that push comes to shove and they say, well, I know that, as long as it's approved in the model code, then we're allowed to use it, and that's what we want to do.
I would.
I know initially when that was passed, the word around the construction area was, a year from now, that's gonna go away. There's no way they're gonna get away.
And we thought it was, but it didn't.
But it's there. You can build a barn dominium in a Flint neighborhood if you want.
And that's the reason it's in there, asking, you know, if you want to take it out, we'll take it out.
We kind of agree with Charles there. Huh?
Some of those barn doors look good, I'm just gonna say.
Kind of depends on where they are. When they're out on acreage, they're awesome.
I just think it looks awkward for the
Next door, I don't know.
If I were gonna come to the city and,
Well, I don't think that would be in, he only added that for our information, didn't he, Marvin?
Yeah.
Yeah, it wouldn't be in the final. It's sort of like a,
No, what he's saying is just, why do we even leave it in there, period?
but the reason is some people might comply with it, and we think we're better. We would regulate that if we could, right? And we think it's in the citizens' best interest to be able to regulate, just like you're talking about the look we want, but we can't dictate the look because they've taken that away from us.
I understand, then why wouldn't we leave the language? I guess
Because some people might follow it. I mean, quite literally, that would be the reason. You can agree or not agree with it, but that would be a potential reason. To get some compliance.
And then lastly, I think there was consensus, I'm not speaking for anybody behind me, they can certainly speak on their own, but to revisit I think it's called auto laundries or whatever awkward word that is. I think we might have stepped into it a little too quickly.
I think that was a mistake. I don't remember us ever putting.
Whose idea was that?
I don't think that we ever put car washes in there. I think Marvin kind of added that.
Well, but even the whole, I thought it was anything to do with autos, if I recall.
Are you talking about the car washes being removed?
Yeah, I didn't remember us ever putting that
Yeah,
in.
we did back in,
Okay.
we did that ordinance.
Right. I just didn't remember. I knew that it went in there, but I didn't remember us putting. And understand what happened was we had good intentions, but then one council member thought something else was bad, another council member, next thing you know, it kind of piled into being a lot more than I think it originally was.
And I don't.
Certainly the intentions were in the right place, but I agree that.
I personally don't think it's a big deal. I think it's kind of self-regulating. You're not gonna have, I will bet any of you today, you will not have 22 car washes in your boulevard or 17 laundromats. So I think it's kind of self-regulating. But I think blocking one from the get-go, I don't know what's out there. And until you all decide what you do on here, why would you start at the negative and say, here's what we don't want?
This is kind of how we do it here in River Oaks, just for the record.
Well, a lot of
And I don't disagree with you at all.
I've talked with you about this, there was 4 within a mile.
I agree.
And if we want other businesses to come here, if we discourage that, maybe a restaurant goes into that building instead of another laundromat. And the same thing with all the automotive places, there are 13 of them and counting. And, you know, how many's, we're letting stuff get developed that we already got a lot of. And so, we gotta, the idea, and I'll give her credit, Joanne Gordon says we can't, because of where we're located, we can afford to be a little picky. Not a lot of picky, but a little picky. And,
I agree, my response would be, if I may, then you guys decide what you do on it. And try to figure out how to get it here, because that's not what you've done, frankly. What you've done is say, we don't want you, we don't want you, we don't want you. We're not sure if we want you or not. That's kind of what you do.
Gross is there instead of a grocery store, instead of a quickie mart or whatever, convenience store. So
I would encourage you to decide what you do on it.
And I will tell you, I'm the one that brought this up originally, and it was with